Hey, what's up, everybody? Trita Seli, your Catholic girl on the radio from at The Word with Rita on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Anyways, today's episode is titled It's Not Easy. Stay tuned. Jesus, you guys, says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that lead to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 through 14. So what do we have here? Jesus gives this example of a small gate and a small road, really, and a narrow road. One that to many would not look appealing. But that road leads to heaven. The road that Saint Charbel took was that road. It was a small gate in a very, very narrow road. Those of you who've been to the monastery know that the monastery, where he was staying in the monastery, the Hermitage, I think it's called. Where he was staying, it's a very small place. And now it's easier to get there, but at his time it was a struggle to get up there. But Saint Charbel, he looked at that road and he said, I'm going to take the smallest, I'm going to enter through the smallest gate, and I'm walking through the narrowest road, because only there would it lead me to life. But the issue is, I think most of us look at that gate and that road and think, this is not what I want to do, because it's a lot easier to walk the way of the world. It's a lot easier to walk in that narrow, in that wide gate, through the wide gate and through the broad road. It looks better. But what's the point? What good would it do if I'm walking in the wrong direction? What good will it do if I gain the whole world and forfeit my soul? Now, I do not tell you that you need to become exactly like Saint Charbel, because that was his calling and that was his narrow road. But in the choices that you're making today, are you making choices that lead you to God, or those that lead you away from Him? Let's really look. I think most of us, especially if you're Lebanese, we look at Saint Charbel and we really always ask him for prayers, for intercessions, for help. But let's also look at him as an example. Charbel, till today, he is the light of the world. A city built on a hill that cannot be hidden. But before that city was built, there was nothing. And as it was built, stone upon stone, to the one standing down, they may have not seen it, because there were only a few stones getting built. But as the builder increased, as the building size increased and the builders continued to build, the city became visible. And so today, Saint Charbel is a city built on a hill, a city that cannot be hidden. And as for us, God is building a city through us. God is making us into this city on the hill. And you may not see it at the moment. But so long as it continues building, it will be seen. God's love, as you walk through that narrow gate and through that narrow road and the small gate, is even bigger and better than we could ever imagine. Because if it weren't, then there would be no reason for Saint Charbel to continue the way he did. There would be no way to continue the way he did, with all that prayer and all that fasting. They weren't exercises that he was doing to his body. There was joy and peace that was given to him in return. Strive to enter through the narrow gate. That's what Jesus tells us. So no, it's not easy what Saint Charbel did, but you can do it too. Maybe in your own way, maybe in your own place. But you too can become a saint. Choose the small gate and walk the narrow road. Let's take a small break and then come back and we'll talk a little bit about what JP said, kind of about this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So John Paul II says, the way Jesus shows us is not easy. Rather, it's like a path winding up a mountain. Do not lose heart. The steeper the road, the faster it rises toward the ever wider horizon. So, imagine you are going up this mountain, and you're hiking up, and throughout this mountain, there's a whole massive amount of ways that you can get there. But to get there, the fastest, it's usually the steepest road that leads up there. And those roads are extremely hard to climb. Those paths are extremely hard to take. So, if Christ is allowing you to walk through this, if you've chosen to walk through the small gate and are walking the narrow path, and that path becomes windy and steep, don't be afraid. JP says, do not lose heart. Don't be afraid. Because if you continue, you will see the beauty of the horizon. And the thing is, God is amazing. And that view that you're going to see is absolutely amazing. A few years ago, I went up to Alaska for a conference. And really, let me tell you, everything about Alaska was just absolutely amazing. But I can tell you that one of the most beautiful experiences was a hike that we went on. And the higher we got up the mountain, the more breathtaking the sights became. Really, just imagine this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous scenery. So every step closer to the top was more amazing than the one before. Was the hike easy? No, not entirely. But it was amazing. Our life with Jesus is like that hike. It's not always easy. But after a few hard steps, we get to take a few moments to enjoy the amazing graces that He has given us and the marvelous things that He has done in our lives. The more we walk with Him, the more endurable the problems become and the more enjoyable life becomes. Because honestly, as you're going up that mountain, that steep mountain, that hard road that is leading you upwards, you stop and you enjoy and you take in a breath of fresh air and you look at the view, and the more you walk with Him upwards, the better the view becomes. Versus when we choose to enter through the wide gate and the broad road, it's a lot easier to go down the mountain than it is up the mountain. And that road that you're taking may be leading you downwards, and it's an easy one, and it's a comfortable one. But as you go down, The view doesn't get better, the view gets worse. So my question for you today, where do you want to go? Are you willing to take the challenge and say, God, let there be no barriers between you and I? Let there be nothing that stands between you and I, your love and me, so that we can walk together. Let's take a small break, you guys, and come back and we'll talk a little bit more about the subject. So, welcome back, everybody. We're kind of talking today about life not being easy and having lots of struggles, but these struggles lead you up to Christ. So, Jesus tells us, then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." This is Matthew 16:24. Let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. So we have Jesus, and he's calling us to take up the cross and deal with it as we ought to, and follow him. Yes, it's absolutely terrible to carry the cross. That's what, and I've said this a billion times before, but pray the Stations of the Cross. It really makes a difference. It's terrible to take up the cross. Look at the stations. But it also led somewhere. So there are certain problems in our lives that we can't escape. So in certain things, we always have to carry our cross. But we can either say, let's take up the cross and follow me, and actually follow Jesus. And if we follow Jesus, we end up at the resurrection. Or, like the other thief, we can take up the cross, feel the terrible pains, and not end up where God wants us to end up. Not end up in heaven. And not end up in its sainthood. And so, with God, when we take up our cross and follow him, there is the resurrection. When we don't, there isn't. And really think about it in that sense. Certain things you cannot not carry. Certain problems, certain accidents, certain things happen, and you cannot not carry the cross. That's not possible. You're in a situation and you have to deal with it. To either take it up and follow Jesus or you don't. And there are certain situations where we have a choice, whether we take up the cross and we do the right thing or we don't. For example, am I choosing to lie when I could be telling the truth? And that truth could be a little bit harder to handle, but you know what? With that truth, I would be taking up the cross and following God. When I'm telling that lie, I'll be taking up the cross and not following God. If that makes sense. So some things, sometimes we can have a choice, sometimes we don't. In any case, it's not easy. Whatever it is that we're trying to do with God, it's just not always easy. But he is there, and he's with you, and he loves you, and he's always going to take care of you. So don't think that you're doing this alone. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to connect with me on social media, it's at The Word with Rita, and I will see you guys, or I'll be with you guys next week.